After a very exciting debut of the 2025 cars at Suzuka last week, we're back here once again at Daytona Beach, Florida, for the start of the traditional portion of the 1UP Superstar Series season. And what better place to start off 2025 the right way than at the place where it all began for stock car racing in America. The beautiful Daytona Beach Road Course, 4 miles of hot, hard racing action stretched out across a bunch of great race straights, 2 miles down the highway A1A, make a U-turn onto the hard-packed sands of Daytona Beach, fly up 2 miles there, make another U-turn, and do it all over again. 14 laps around this is very unique, very intense racing circuit, and with 22 of 1UP's finest ready to tackle it, whatever way to describe it, then this simply is the 1UP Superstar Shootout. And after a great race we saw at Suzuka last week, joining me in the booth once again, as it was there, is Jacob Crago again for today's race. Although this place is much different from that in Suzuka. A lot more focus on horsepower, a lot more focus on the draft, and if you can get all that right, you might just find yourself in victory lane at the end of 14 laps today.
Certainly. I mean, you only have to deal with 2 corners as opposed to 11, 12 at Suzuka. But yeah, they raced here because of that hard packed sand, as you mentioned, and a lot of speed records were set here before they moved out to the salt flats in Utah. So it should be an exciting race. As you said, very much a drafting track, especially down the paved highway section that is effectively the front straightaway, before you have to hit a very, very hard braking zone into turns 1 and 2 before you're spat out back onto the sandy beach here for another 2 miles back up towards turns 3 and 4. And you're right, it should be an exciting race. Of course, cars have changed a lot since we raced on the beach back in the 50s and 40s, but it should be an interesting race. I'm certainly excited to see how these cars can tackle the sands.
And considering the end of last year's race, we saw a last lap pass on the final corner that gave Devin Fair the win in that race. I'm sure we're going to see something just as special here today over the course of 14 laps. As we can now give you the starting lineup for today's 14 laps of action. It was set by random draw earlier this week, which gave Lane Sanders pole position in the shootout, his first in this event. Ben McDonald lines up alongside him, Emma Kruger, Jeffrey Fingai, and Zayden Davidson complete the top 5, with defending race winner Devin Fair in 6th. You got Suzuka winner Patrick Smith starting off a little further down the order in 15th, but more importantly, there's a lot of drivers making their 2025 debuts in this race. We got a lot of drivers who weren't at Suzuka making their first starts of the year here today, so for them, this is the big chance to knock the rust off, especially for some guys who really need a good turnaround for 2025, like Bobo Jones, Stephen Gale, Aaron Hall, and a few others. This is their chance to really shine at Daytona.
It certainly is. And one driver I do want to point out in particular is driver number 6, Joshua Michaels. He starts in 13th, midfield, but I feel like he's got a good shot here today. I was talking with Jensen Nomina earlier before we got here in the commentary booth, and he was saying that Joshua's, when they raced back at Darlington last year for the Cup Series, where Jensen Nomina was able to beat Michaels for the win there, he said that Michaels came up to him after the race and, they talked it out and whatnot, and he was very respectful and actually congratulated Jensen on that, and they kind of became friends after the fact. So, and when I was talking with Jensen, he felt like Joshua Michaels might have a good shot here today, but of course, beating the mid-pack, and not necessarily the best area to start. But, of course, as you said, drafting track, horsepower. And we could even see Christian Vargas come around and win this thing. And he starts dead last 22nd, shotgun to the field. So let's find out what's going to happen.
And considering the year Michaels had last year, a fantastic season, derailed in the playoffs, we'll see if he's able to rebound, get that first win in the Superstar car here today. With that being said, we've got 14 laps to decide it all here today at Daytona Beach. We're getting ready for that action now. It is the 1UP Superstar Shootout at the Daytona Beach Road Course. Stay tuned for more because we're going to bring you a lot more over the course of the next 14 laps here in this race here today. Making their way through the tight north turn, it is Lane Sanders and Ben McDonald on the front row. They fan out a little bit, trying to get back into formation before the start-finish line. It comes at you really quick, and for 14 laps, we're underway in the shootout. Sanders, by virtue of that inside line, gets off to a flying start down the long highway A1A as the field gets up to full speed. It's going to take him a bit to get there, but this is just going to provide us with the ultimate battle of horsepower and a big draft fight. We head down towards the south turn for the first time.
Yes, they do, and you can see there is a little bit of a kink down that front straightaway there, and it's going to be interesting to see how, if they have to slow down there later on. Obviously, they won't need to as they get up to speed here. It looks like further back, the field is starting to already get strung out, single file. It looks like the first 4 rows or so, side by side, as they head in turn 1. McDonald with a little bit of an advantage going into the corner here. And not quite clear if Sanders. Kruger looking to make it 3 wide for the lead here.
And Davidson.
And now they're 4 wide.
Man, this is the kind of action we saw here last year. Everybody makes it through the first corner safe and sound, and we head on to the stands for the first time today. This is exactly like what we saw last year. People fanning out 3 and 4 wide in the first turn before trying to file back in line for a big draft down the hard sands of Daytona Beach as McDonald powers away to the lead as the pack streams down back straightaway here. Starting to get a little separation at the back of the field, but up at the front, Jeffrey Finguy now pushing his nose out ahead of Lane Sanders, trying to establish himself in the second before the field breaks hard once again for 3 and 4.
Yeah, and you saw Emma Kruger had to fall back in line right behind Sanders. She was 3 wide with Sanders and Finguy there for a majority of that straightaway there. Now they run through 3 and 4. Finguy got side by side with McDonald there just ever so slightly. Now McDonald clears the lead by a good 3, 4, 5 car lengths as they head across the line. Half a second over Sanders actually at the line. Finguy losing a couple of spots there. Might not have gotten the power down off the corners, maybe slid or something.
And one thing we're going to be talking about a lot today, coming out of the final corner, is how fast you can get back onto the pavement off of the sand. That's going to be critical to how you start your lap here at the Daytona Beach Road Course. Right now, Sanders trying to close back in on McDonald, while Kruger and Fair side by side for 3rd place. Remember, Devin Fair won this race last year with a last lap pass. Won't be surprised to see him trying something similar here today as they brake hard once again for the south turn. This is where the action's really going to pick up.
Yeah, it looks like Kruger able to get clear of Fair there off the corner, able to get to Sanders' quarter panel. However, without drafting help down that long back straightaway on the sandy beaches, it's going to be hard for Kruger to really make anything of that move. You can already see she's already now side by side with Finguy as Fair is pulled out ahead and into 3rd spot. McDonald still leading at Sanders. And looks like Fair now clear of Kruger. Kruger able to fall in line in between Fair and Finguy as they head closer and closer to turn 3.
Look at this beautiful train of cars snaking their way down the sands of Daytona Beach. 22 cars strong. The top half dozen or so starting to break away from the rest of the field. Zayden Davidson, last car in line there, got a bit of a gap back to the 13 of Chris Lattimore. But back at the front of the field, Devin Fair sticks a nose under Lane Sanders.
Contact.
A little bit of contact, but that you're going to expect that here at the Daytona Beach Road Course, won't you? As McDonald leads lap number 2, but the gap has shrunk between himself, Sanders, and Devin Fair. These 3 starting to put a small bit of a gap between themselves and the battle for 4th between Kruger and Finguy.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if Kruger saw that contact and thought there was going to be a wreck coming off the corner, maybe didn't hit the gas as hard. That allowed Fair and Lane Sanders to get a little bit of a breakaway as they're side by side heading towards turn 1. Fair with a little bit of drafting help from McDonald, I think, as they head past the kink there along the front straightaway.
And one thing to remember is that due to this being classified as a road course, despite it having an oval shape, we're not going to have any full course yellows today. So if you have a mistake and come together with another competitor, that might be your race gone. So you got to take great care to avoid having any issues today and stay at the front of the field as often as you can, because if you slip even one bit, this track is unforgiving. As we head onto the sands once again, Sanders drawing a bead right onto the back of McDonald. He could be setting up a move in the north turn.
Road course is certainly right in the literal sense, as we see Sanders now look to the outside of McDonald down the back straightaway here as they head towards turn 3, and now they head down to the track. Looks like McDonald trying to break the draft a little bit. Everybody's trying to stay in it. Kruger, however, out of line as once again she and Fair side by side for third, with Finguy right behind them. And it looks like Sanders going to try and take a look to the inside of McDonald now for the lead. They are side by side exiting the corner. I think McDonald got the power down better though.
But Sanders gets onto the asphalt first, and that might give him a big advantage as we start the fourth lap here. As, yes, he is getting a nose out on Ben McDonald. He might be getting a bit of a distant push from Devin Fair. So Sanders now forging his way out into the lead as we head down the front straightaway towards turn one. These cars reaching about 185 miles an hour before they brake hard onto the sand here. And remember, despite how hard-packed this sand is, it's not a very good traction surface compared to the asphalt of the front straightaway. So you want to get back on it as soon as possible. And for Lane Sanders, I think he was able to do that to perfection as we brake hard once again for the first turn. Whoa, McDonald gets shoved wide. That could open the door for Devin Fair.
Yeah, and you saw down that front straightaway, even though Sanders got the power down on the asphalt quicker than McDonald could get onto the asphalt, McDonald was able to start to pull back alongside Sanders even more and more until he got a little loose entering that corner there. They're still side by side for the lead here as they head down the back straightaway. Fair and Kruger still side by side for third. It's going to be really interesting to see if really anybody here can make a move here as we are already 4.5 laps complete.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky, but it's not impossible as we've seen in the previous year's race. Looking here briefly at Jake McMillan in the 03 as a battle for the lead in series between Sanders and McDonald through the north turn. I wanted to mention Jake McMillan briefly because this is one of his very few appearances in a superstar car this season. He's running the full Nitro National schedule this season. However, he was eligible for this race due to winning the pole at Silverstone last year. He took advantage of that, entered the race in a part-time car for himself, and look at him. He started this race in 7th. That's exactly where he holds position right now. Great run for the 03 in one of his limited appearances this year.
Certainly a great run so far, just outside the top 5, and kind of getting up to the top 6 here as we saw McDonald get the very, very powerful run off the final corner there. I wonder if Sanders had a little bit of a moment exiting turn 4 there, as we see Fair clear Kruger as they head into the
they're starting to bottle it up
2.
in turns one in the first turn. Jason Parker in the 76. He had a strong run at North Wilkesboro last year. Got the pole there to be eligible for this race. He's right on the back of this train, and he's trying to find his way past McMillan in the 03, but they stacked it up into turn 1. A little bit of front-end damage on a couple of cars, but not at the front, where Sanders and Fair are trying to work together pretty well to try and find a way past McDonald, who has led all 4 laps so far.
Yep, and it's a 3-car breakaway here as they head down the back straightaway because of that stack up going in through turns 1 and 2.
It's certainly going to be a back-and-forth battle for the rest of this race, as it looks like Fair and Sanders going to try and battle it out side by side into the north turn, and McDonald hard onto the brakes, trying to keep them both at bay. A Chevy, a Dodge, and a Toyota all battling for the lead here at Daytona. Exactly the kind of racing diversity we want to see here, as it looks like Fair gets the power down first. He's going to find a way past Lane Sanders to move up into second place, so give the 51 the edge down the front straightaways. We're getting a bit of separation between the top 15 and everybody else behind.
Yeah, it seems like for Devin Fair, it's second first, same as the first. Here as this race continues to draw closer to halfway. Emma Kruger had a very big moment out of turn 4. I noticed she's lost a couple of spots to looks like Finguy and Davidson as they head down the front straightaway here. And now she's under fire from Jake McMillan for the spot as well. So McMillan probably could break into the top 5, maybe top 6.
Braking hard.
I don't know, let's count cars.
Yeah, no worries. We're breaking into turn 1. There's hardly any time to talk as we go 3 wide once again through the south turn. Back onto the sands we go. And before we go much further, I did want to make mention of the second Sanders Performance Auto Sport car in this race. It's not Julio Cesar like we saw at Suzuka. It's this 46 Napa Dodge driven by Chase Christ, making his first appearance of the year and his first appearance with his new team. He got into this race by winning the pole for last year's Daytona 500. So He's in a similar position as he was then. Needs to qualify on time for that race, but this is a fantastic run for a team making its first appearance of 2025.
Yeah, and running in the top 10 as well, 9th across the line previous lap. So it'll be interesting to see if he can make any further forward progress here as this race continues on. So we head down back through 3 and 4. Sanders looking to the inside of Fair as Fair looks to the inside of McDonald, and McDonald has a little moment. They're 3 wide coming across the line. McDonald leads the lap as Sanders gets third there, but Sanders gets the power down first. He's going to lead the pack and clear Fair and McDonald down the front straightaway.
Are you not entertained here at Daytona Beach this afternoon? Sanders now out in the lead of this race. He's passed Ben McDonald, who falls back to third after leading the opening 6 laps. But these 3 have been the class of the field so far today. They've been out front consistently. They've still got a big gap between themselves and Zayden Davidson in 4th. And they are streaking away towards the south turn once again. Getting onto the sand once again. It's going to brake hard here. Can McDonald or Fair find a way around the 87 and get the lead back perhaps?
They're closing, but I don't think they closed quite enough. Oh, no, never mind. I spoke too soon. They are 3 wide once again through turn 2. Don't know if Lane was able to get the power down. Maybe. He's clear of them, so he obviously did at this point. McDonald and Fair, though, still side by side down the back straightaway here. Could this allow Davidson to catch up, maybe?
I think it is. Because look, he's already detached himself from Emma Kruger and Jeffrey Fingay, and he's closed right up to the back of his teammate and the 12 of McDonald. So what I'm starting to think is that this might be a 4-car battle for the lead, maybe even 5, 6, 7 cars if Kruger, Fingay, and Christ can get up here. But right now, it's just 4 cars at the front of the field, then a big gap back. We're trying to find a way into the braking zone, hard onto the brakes into the north turn. We'll see who gets to the line first. And it looks as though, whoa, Lane gets shoved wide by the 12 of McDonald, who takes the lead back. So he's still going to be able to lead across the line. McDonald has still led every lap so far, despite not leading nearly enough of that last one.
And what a move by McDonald as well. Not the cleanest of moves, possibly. I don't know if contact was made there. But hey, it's what you got to do if you want to win one of these short exhibition events.
Yeah,
as we
worked.
see Fair side by side with McDonald now as they head towards turn 1. And there is Davidson right on the back. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe those are teammates running nose to tail right there, right?
Correct. The 51 and the 4, both fielded by Revolution Racing, and they are the 2 bringing the challenge to Ben McDonald at the moment. They've pushed Lane Sanders back to 4th as they brake hard for turns 1 and 2 once again. Devin's going to get the advantage out of the corner, or Willie. McDonald's going to have a good run out of the south corner. He's going to put the power down first, and look at them. They're 3 wide down this back straightaway, and Lane Sanders, well, he's got his pick of the litter when it comes to drafting partners. He can push any one of these 3 to the lead.
I think he was trying to shoot for the gap between the 4 and the 51, but that gap closed a little quicker than Lane would have wanted, so he wasn't able to make it 4 wide there. He looks like he's going to stick behind the 51 of Fair as they head down towards turn 3 here. I think Fair actually had the worst corner exit off of turn 2 there because he got Davidson to his inside, he got McDonald to his outside. He was basically the monkey in the middle there.
Nowhere for him to go, but he's still holding on to 2nd at the moment. Look at Lane, though. He's on the outside, swinging wide through 3 and 4. Might get some run. Oh, but Devin gets a little pinched, and he gets squeezed wide. That's going to allow Davidson to move through into 2nd place, and Lane's still stuck behind the 51. He's not going to let Devin get back onto the pavement easily, but we got a new challenger to Ben McDonald's dominance, and it is this 4 car being driven by Zayden Davidson.
I believe there was actually a little bit of contact between Sanders and Fair there coming off the corner there because Lane was trying to get on the throttle, but Fair wasn't quite able to. Kruger actually gets back around Fair there as well for 4th spot with Fingay now right on the bumper of the 51. As Davidson, we see here, chasing down the 12 of McDonald for the lead. They got a little bit of a gap to Lane, though, because of that kerfuffle coming off of turn 4 there. So, and you got Chris, or
yep.
I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I apologize. He's actually right on the back end of Fingay as well. So you got 2 Revolution Racing cars. You got 2 Sanders Autosport cars. You got McDonald's car. You got
The 03, you got Finn Guy up there, the 70. We got a whole score of drivers racing for the win here. But there's a bit of separation between this battle for second between Sanders and Davidson, and then the fourth place car of Emma Kruger now, who has also dispatched Devin Fair, who's actually starting to lose a bit of ground. Finn Guy's also gotten past. So we got about 10 seconds of separation between first and 22nd, which is currently the 11 of Mark Davey. I believe he had a little bit of a issue through 1 and 2. That's going to drop him off the lead group and possibly out of contention for a decent finish. But as they brake hard through 3 and 4, Sanders going to try and stick his nose under McDonald once again, but this might just open the door for Zayden Davidson to get them both down the highway.
Yeah, going from a good finish last week at Suzuka down to running shotgun to the field now as we complete lap 9 here. Not the run that Mark Davey would have wanted, as we see Lane Sanders are right on the back bumper, and Ben McDonald down the front straightaways, Fair and Finn Guy side by side, and right behind them the 03 and the 46 side by side as well.
They're almost touching in some instances.
So yeah, you got a Ford versus a Toyota, a Honda versus a Dodge, and it's going to be interesting to see which of these engine manufacturers has the most horsepower here. Kruger looks like she's kind of blocking Finn Guy and Fair simultaneously there in the background, as we see Sanders not get the run he wants to off the turn. Wide. Yep. They are 4 wide.
Yeah, we sure got a 4 wide, at least for a moment. Settled back down to 3, and now 2 wide between McMillan and Fair. This is why this shootout has been held at Daytona Beach the last 2 years, and this is why it's probably going to stay here for 2026. This is brilliant stuff from all of our racers here today. Ben McDonald doing everything he can to guarantee himself a spot in next year's race, but there's still 4.5 laps to go, and there's a lot that can still happen between these guys racing at the front. The whole top 8 cars are in with a shout at victory at this point.
You also got to wonder, with the sand being possibly kicked up as well, if that's going to get into any of the engine compartments and have any engine failures here as we get later and later into this race as well. Wonder if that's what happened to Fair. Maybe he got a little bit of sand up in there and it's causing some issues, as we see him kind of losing another, or kind of hanging on. He's lost a lot of time to these front guys and hasn't been able to recover it.
He has picked up one spot, though. He did get by Jeffrey Finn Guy, and he's now side by side with Emma Kruger for 4th. He's making it up, at least, which is good. And looking a little further back in the field, we haven't had a chance much to talk about the midfield today because there's been so much action at the front. But Joshua Michaels, you mentioned him at the top of the show. He's climbed his way up into the top 10 after starting 13th. He's side by side, or holding off Stephen Gale, who's side by side with J.D. Martin back there. But the field breaks hard for turns 1 and 2 once again. We'll find our way back there in a moment. But for now, we got 2 instances of 3 wide in the south turn. Great stuff from everybody here.
Yeah, 3 wide for the lead, 3 wide for 4th. They're 3 wide just about everywhere around here.
But they got to settle it back down to single file to try and get the best draft down the long straightaways here. That's what's so critical about this. You need both the aerodynamics and the drafting ability for the straights, but you also need good handling and car control for those really tight corners. You need to find balance of both, and so far, Ben McDonald has led every lap of this race at the line, but he's far from led every moment of this race because there have been a lot of great moves as this race progresses. We're coming to 3 laps to go, and unless I'm not mistaken, Devin Fair starting to stick his nose back into the conversation. He has caught the leading trio once again.
Well, let me eat my words then about maybe Fair having an issue then, as we see him catch up back to the back bumper of his teammate coming off of turn 4 there. Sanders able to hold off the 4 of Davidson there off the corner as well, and kind of keep closer to the 12 than the 4 was able to keep to the 87 as they run 3 wide further back. I believe that was Finn Guy, the 03 and the 46.
Maybe. It sure is. Yeah, they're banging doors down the front straightaway at over 170 miles an hour. That won't end terribly, I'm sure. So we got about 4 different packs formed here. We got this group of 4, we got the leading foursome, we got a whole big pack further back, about 5 seconds off, and then 10 seconds back are the stragglers trying to make something out of this race. But braking hard into the first turn once again. They're once again 3 wide through the corner. We'll see who gets the best drive off. I think Lane Sanders is going to have to do a bit of defending against the Revolution Racing duo, especially the 4 of Davidson.
You know, you mentioned quartets. I wonder if there's a barbershop along the highway straightaway.
Look hard enough, I'm sure you'll find one.
As we see Davidson and Sanders side by side further up towards the front as we look at the battle for the 4th position between Kruger, Finguy,
and the 46 of Chris.
Chase, and the 03
of Jake McMillan. These guys are keeping enough distance between themselves and the leading group, where if these guys have a problem, they won't be involved in it, but there will be an opportunity to capitalize should there be an issue with this group. And the way they've been racing, I would not be surprised if there is an issue where they come together and touch off a wreck between them, because we only have 2 laps of racing to go. McDonald has led all 12 laps so far, but it has been anything but easy for him.
Yeah, he's able to pull away here off of the corner as we cross the line for 2 to go.
Yeah, he might be saving his best for last here. He put on the afterburners late. He might have been saving his stuff, just doing enough to keep these guys at bay. Then he puts the foot down on the last 2 laps to try and build as big a lead as he can. That is race management at its finest, and that might be what gets Ben McDonald this win. Although, Devin Fair might have also been saving a little bit, because look at him. He's getting it alongside Lane Sanders, with help from his teammate in the 4, breaking into the first turn once again.
Yeah, they were practically baiting fenders down the front straightaway there at one point, as I believe the 4 just put the bumper to the 51, but not able to capitalize on it, at least not yet, as they almost run 3 wide coming off that corner there. McDonald still easily with a 5, well, not quite 5 car length lead, more like 3 car lengths as they come off the corner there.
They're gaining on him, and we're coming to the white flag this time. Can Ben McDonald hold on? He has dominated this race. He has led every lap at the stripe, but like we said, other drivers have had their turns at the front of this field, but Ben McDonald has persevered, and in just a lap and a half's time, he could be the winner of this race. But we still have 8 cars in with a shout at this race win as we come to the white.
Yeah, that second pack has certainly caught up to this lead group as they continue the battle. Although there is a little bit of separation between Fair and Sanders right now. That's not going to necessarily be the case here as they run through 3 and 4. Ooh, Sanders able to get to the quarter panel, though. Are they going to be able to get onto the pavement as quickly? Yeah, it looks like McDonald and Sanders about equally timed on getting to the pavement, as now it is not quite nose to tail between these 3, who've basically been the story of the race in its entirety, more or less.
And they've dropped Davidson as well. This could be a 3-car battle for the win as we enter the final lap here at Daytona Beach. McDonald holds the lead for now, but it could very much be anyone's game between these 3 as we get closer to the braking zone. McDonald dominating this race. Sanders started on the pole. Fair won this race a year ago. Any of them could hold on to win this race as we got contact into turn 1. Fair to the back bumper of Sanders. That could get them both out of shape. McDonald's got the best line through turn 2. He's going to have the lead down the back, but could that contact between the 51 and the 87 have just wrecked their chances?
I don't know if Sanders is able to stay in the draft from McDonald, who got the better drive off the corner there. He might be within a shot here.
The thing is, I don't think McDonald got out of it unscathed either. You can see the damage on his car. So none of these cars are running at 100%, but they're sure giving it everything here at the very last of this race.
Give 110 for a car that's only able to give 90. That's the advice I've always given to Jensen Nomina.
Down the backstretch for the final time today, heading into the braking zone in the final quarter. The rev cars look to be out of it. It's going to be between Sanders and McDonald. I don't think the 87 is going to make it, though. He's a little too far back. So through 3 and 4, for the final time, Ben McDonald has persevered. He's led every lap of this race, but through stern opposition, he comes through and wins the 2025 Shootout at Daytona Beach. Fantastic drive from him. And look at that, Zayden Davidson just nipped his teammate at the line to steal the final spot on the podium. How about that?
Yeah, and Finguy looks like he pipped Emma Kruger for 5th across the line, a little bit further back as well.
And she got McMillan for 6th just as closely.
Yep. But yeah, a great run for Ben McDonald. Started on the outside, which really is where you want to be, I guess, if you want to get the drive off the corners here. And had almost had a bit more of an exciting race than Patrick Smith did at Suzuka in terms of the battle for the lead. But man, he certainly earned it with this race today.
And look at this. All 8 of these guys up at the front held firm and got some good results. Stephen Gale was the best of this group back here. He brings it home 9th, ahead of Joshua Michaels in 10th. Patrick Smith, the Suzuka winner, brings it home in P11. And these guys, they were having their own fun little battle back here. I'm sure they'll have plenty of stories to mention. After this race, Jason Parker, a solid 13th place ahead of J.D. Martin, Lattimore, Miles Mashburn in 12th position, and then the stragglers back here, they were just trying to salvage their day. Dylan Young, Sam Donotto, Ortiz back here, Aaron Hall, Bobo Jones, and then quite a ways off of this group, you had the stragglers of Christian Vargas, who had his own little issue late in the race to fall back to 21st.
Yeah, you can see the damage on the hood there.
And Mark Davey, who brings it home 28 seconds off the lead in 22nd place. But this was a brilliant shootout for Ben McDonald, and he's the first driver to punch his ticket to next year's race by winning this one. So great stuff from Ben McDonald. I'm sure this is much better than the second place starting spot he drew earlier in the week.
Yeah, and like I said, fantastic run for him. Basically, he and Sanders basically swapped positions from start to finish there. So, I don't know what to say other than that was just a fantastic race.
And I'm sure we're looking forward to next year's running as well. But before we can get there, we've got 30 points races to deal with in this 2025 season. The first of which is coming in just a few weeks' time, where we get speed weeks underway for the Daytona 500, the 6th running of the Daytona 500. We're going to look forward to that as much as you are. So, from Jacob Crago and from myself as well, thanks for joining us for this 2025 shootout. We'll see you again in a relatively short amount of time for the Daytona duels and the 500 and everything good that comes with that. But until then, so long from the beach at Daytona. Congrats to Ben McDonald. He is your winner in a very hard-fought 14 laps on the beach.